What is it? A 3-stage snowblower by Troy Built. Got to pick one of those up. You know why you need to pick one of these up? Because the snow you saw in Kingston, Ontario could be very much like the snow you're going to see right into the first week of 2015. And we are talking about snow squalls, indeed, into the long-range forecast. We have an abundance of cold air in place. We're also talking about system-generated snow, the first of the year. I'm meteorologist Jaclyn. Whittal. It's nice to have you along. Happy New Year. I hope you had a great New Year's Eve. It was a cold one, and but all good things ahead for everyone in 2015. That's what I'm feeling. I feel like it's going to be a good year. All right, so up through cottage country, you have the use for your snowblower. Everywhere down in southern Ontario really is seeing grass. I went running today in Ancaster, Ontario, where I live, and grass. It's been a green Christmas, and so I'm looking forward to the snow. The ban, though, all joking aside, there was a ban that moved through Kingston, Brockville, Cornwall today along the 401 that shut down the highway. It was a multi-vehicle collision. I think it involved about 60 to 70 cars, and the local hospital was in a code orange at the time, which means they put those people that have been affected by that collision, that situation first in line. So just an awful situation. Same kind of rough road conditions, rough driving conditions all the way up Highway 11, Highway 69 because of the snow squalls. Snow squall warning in place, snow squall watch in place. So how does this happen? Well, we know we need warm, open lake waters. We need cold air aloft to get the squalls going. But what about the winds? The winds play a very important role. Today we saw the winds out of the southwest, and that's why that band set up right along the 401. And in fact, the band was actually parallel to the highway. Not a good situation. So this is when we have southwest winds, but the winds are actually going to be shifting, and we're going to actually see a bit more of a northwest component to the winds, and that's why we're going to see places like Tobermory, Owen Sound, Wyerton getting really hit hard later tonight. So single banding snow squall, southwest winds, those are the bad ones. Those are the ones that just set up in one spot and they just keep dumping snow in the lee of the lake. So we did see that today. Here's how our winds play out. So we see that southwest wind. We start to see them switch northwesterly. There you go. Overnight into tomorrow. And then notice the little wind vectors become tinier. That means the model is picking up that they're going to slow down. When we have them slowing down and changing directions, we don't have enough ingredients that we need for squalls. Expecting some cold air, though, that's in place. Minus 28 for Sudbury, minus 30. And footage, we appreciate it here. Your winds are going to look something like this for Nova Scotia out of the southwest. So temperatures are chilly. They have some wind chills, in place, but that cold front will really cool things off. And into the long-range forecast, again, for much of eastern Canada and the prairies, you're going to be seeing really cold air. Some of the cold airs that we've seen in the last year, and not 2015, but the last year. Minus 5 for Sydney, Nova Scotia, minus 11 with the wind chill. Corner Brook, we are looking at minus 16 with the wind chill. Still looking at those western shores of Newfoundland getting some sea effect snow. But this is a look ahead. So Saturday, high pressure for the East Coast. There's our big storm for the weekend through Ontario. Looks like a big blob of blue, doesn't it? Well, what we can tell you is that it's going to start as snow Saturday afternoon, Saturday evening, switching over to rain at some point, possibly ice pellets mixing in there, and then back to snow and very strong wind gusts. Could be seeing winds up to 80, 90 kilometers an hour along the lakes. And you know what that means? More snow squalls. So Sunday, look at that. Rain, 7 degrees for Toronto. So there's that warm up. And then on the back side of the system, we'll see a cool down in our temperatures again, but very mild by Sunday, the forecast so far. Windsor, 5 degrees by Sunday. Straight rain for you in Windsor. That rain snow line is going to be so important for us to keep an eye on here at the Weather Network on your behalf, because where it's snowing, changing bad visibility, road conditions, that sort of thing. Raining, maybe not so much. Grand Prairie, 15 to 30 centimeters. Edmonton, 10 to 15 for you. Here's your temperatures overnight, anywhere from about minus 2 to minus 21. And these temperatures, this is nothing, folks. Wait till we get into next week. You're going to see some of the coldest air that you've seen yet in the last year. We'll be back with much more. That is sort of a developing area of low pressure that brought snow that far south, and that is going to track across Texas and merge with another system right there by Saturday and become a powerful low for Ontario. So why did it snow so far south, you're probably wondering? Well, do you remember all that cold air that we had in play for much of Canada? All it takes is for that to dive down to that far south, and as long as they have a system there that can produce precipitation, it falls as snow. So let's talk about that. We have this area of low pressure, which is an Alberta clipper. That's going to bring some snow to Edmonton. We'll dig into that coming up here. But once that moves ahead into Saturday, we're going to start to move that storm from Texas, which originated back in the Four Corner states, They're going to sort of join forces, as you see here. It's what we call phasing. So two lows coming together, two pieces of energy phasing together. Along the warm front, really important for us here as forecasters to watch what goes on that warm front, because we have warm air pushing north and we have cold air pushing around the top side of the low. We could see ice pellets, possibly freezing rain, and then switching to rain. But everybody will start as snow. As the low tracks to the east, wrap around. Northwesterly flow means the lake effect machine is going to get going Sunday to Monday. A lot of people making their way back from holidays. Not going to be pretty. So place to be, Canmore, Alberta. Beautiful this time of year. All right, so how about snowfall for you in Canmore? Well, we're going to see quite a bit of snowfall through Grand Prairie, Edmonton, Fort Nelson, Prince George. All these areas are under a snowfall warning. Prince George is also under a freezing rain warning. And we're looking at the potential for freezing rain because, again, it's along a warm front. So warm fronts are tricky. That's where we get those freezing rain setups, because we have a push of warm air that overrides colder air at the surface, and then that's how we get freezing rain. Basically, a snowflake partially melts, or then it actually fully melts through a warming layer and it freezes back on contact. So we could see that Fort St. John, Grand Prairie, 15 to 30 centimeters. So no chance of freezing rain there, but a lot of snowfall. Special weather statement in place for some of these areas. Highway 16, 97 up through Pine Pass. Do be careful if you have any plans to make your way down those highways. Minus 21 for Grand Prairie, minus 23 for Fort St. John. Overnight, there's the snow. Grand Prairie, 15 to 30 centimeters. Edmonton, though, less, but a good snowfall, 10 to 15. Calgary, not so much for you. This boundary is going to be staying to your north, but it will extend all the way down into Brandon, Manitoba, Regina, picking up 15 to 30 centimeters, possibly by the time this event is done. Minus 14 for you in Swift Current. Saskatoon, cold, but not as cold as you've been, and not as cold as you're going to get. Yeah, into next week, it's going to be bitter. Bitter wind chills. Make sure you have your warmest winter coat and all the accessories ready. Here we go. So Sunday, the coldest day probably we've seen all season, not just all year. It's only been one day that we've been in 2015. Minus 26, partly cloudy Sunday in Regina before the wind chill. Speaking of winds, we have the snow squall warnings in place. Lots of snow squall activity still in place. And of course, thanks for spending some time with us on the first day of 2015. Happy New Year. I'm meteorologist Jaclyn Whittal. Lots to talk about right across the country, and so it's not a dull day to start the new year, I'll tell you that. Lake effect machine rocking and rolling through Ontario, and in fact, it's going to keep up at least until Saturday, and then we'll get a storm, and then it'll start again. So a lot of snow on the way for Ontario, a lot of snow on the way for the BC interior high elevations, and also into Alberta. We'll talk about all of it. Beginning now with collision today on the 401. And, you know, it's like, well, you know, everybody says, well, just go slow. How do these things happen? You know how these things happen? I heard Chris May say this on TV earlier, and I really believe he's right. You know, all it takes is, you know, you're going from sunny conditions to a wall of snow in a matter of seconds. It's hard to react that quickly. So all it takes is one car to maybe panic and slow down or throw the brakes on, and then it's, you know, a chain of events behind it, right? So that's how we get those kinds of crashes. So get ready for some rough winter driving to continue, because we have this Texas low pressure system. We call it a Texas low that's going to merge with a developing Alberta clipper. And you think, well, big deal. What's that mean? Well, what it means, a lot of cold air and a lot of Gulf of Mexico moisture. That means a strong low is about to develop. And we'll talk about it. We'll be with you every step of the way into the weekend. Coming back from the cottage, if you've been up there for the holidays, not going to be pretty. Sunday into Monday, really going to be rough driving. So keep it here as we continue to track this. We're also tracking, of course, the snow on radar. Parry Sound has seen a band right into the east. I know Bracebridge, Huntsville, all of you have seen some snow. We've been watching it on radar. These bands, these snow squalls are going to continue, hence the warnings and the watches in white from Environment Canada. This is what we need for lake effect snow. We need instability. So warmer air rising into colder air. We have that because it's warm water. The lakes are wide open, so it's relatively warmer than the air aloft. We need the distance over the lake to get a squall, a big squall setting up over a lake. We don't want the winds changing directions, and we need upstream moisture and, of course, the lake moisture. So we have all those ingredients. Look at how wide open our lakes are. They're not frozen yet. Last year, this time, they were 17% frozen over in Huron. Erie was almost 10% frozen over. We're at 0. You know, so lots of opportunity for the lake effect machine to keep going for some time. It's going to take a lot of cold air to freeze those lakes up later in the season, I guess, right? Okay, Perry Sound, 10 to 20 centimeters. Could see 15, but 10 to 25 to 10, though, in the lighter shade of blue there. Snow continuing for the 4th day in a row on the western shores of Newfoundland, although it does seem to be dissipating on radar. Sydney, Nova Scotia, though, you're seeing some snow on radar right now, all because of sea effect. Same kind of setup as lake effect, but over warmer ocean water. So we do have a snow squall watch now. That's been downgraded from a warning, but the warning now through along the St. Lawrence and Sept-Îles. So be careful if you're making your way through that. This is how much we could see, 10 to 15 centimeters still. So let's more moderate climate, I guess we're going to say on the west coast. And you know why that is? It's because we have the ocean keeping things warm on the west coast. However, when we get enough cold air coming in from the Arctic, which we're going to get, we have enough moisture in place to create snow, especially in the higher elevations. We lose our temperatures as we climb with height. So Prince George, you're getting hit with some snow. Edmonton, you're going to get hit with snow. We have snowfall warnings in place. Grand Prairie, Edmonton, Prince George, you have a bit of both, freezing rain potential and snowfall. That's because there's a warm front right here. So we have warm air below it and cold air above it. Not a good situation. That's where we get that freezing rain kind of setup. This is how much you can expect. 15 to 30 centimeters, Grand Prairie, Fort St. John, the darker blue, 10 to 15. That everybody's okay, but doesn't look very good. You know how that happens when a lot of people are out on the roads and you hit a snow squall. You can go from clear conditions to zero visibility in just a matter of seconds. So it's very dangerous driving. We always talk about that. Be prepared for changing conditions. Well, be prepared again, because up toward the north, these squalls, I should say, are really starting to become linear, and that's going to be shifting our winds as well. So we're going to start to see them dissipate, but not for the next 24 hours. So do expect some more snow. Snow squall warnings in place up toward the north, Perry Sound, North Bay, and then snow squall watch in the white. This is how much, 10 to 20 centimeters, not out of the question. For many, Barrie, you could see 10, but Perry Sound, you could even see more, up to 30 centimeters of snow. Here's a look at our winds, because you see them shifting westerly like they are now, but then they're going to shift northwesterly. That's why areas like Tobermory, Wyerton, you're still going to be under the gun for more snow squalls even once those winds shift. See the little vectors now, the little arrows? That shows that our winds are going to be calming down overnight into Saturday, and that means the snow machine, the lake effect snow machine, will be shut off till we get into the next storm. We'll talk about that in a minute. Minus 28 for Sudbury, minus 34 for Timmins, Kapuskasing, minus 36 with wind chills. You get it. It's cold, and it's going to be cold on the East Coast. In fact, you already are seeing minus double digits. Cold front working its way through is going to drop those temperatures by Friday afternoon even more. Doesn't it feel like tomorrow's Saturday, but tomorrow's Friday? I don't know if I'm the only one that's feeling that, but it's because of the way New Year's was, I guess. Minus 5, feeling like minus 11 for Sydney, Nova Scotia tonight. Minus 16 for you in Corner Brook. And again, you could see 10 to 15 centimeters. This is day number 4. It's like a broken record here, but this is the westerly flow, the sea effect snow that we've been talking about. It's still in the forecast. 5 to 10 for St. John's as we see the winds out of the southwest. High pressure will replace all of that by Saturday, but then we brace for the next big storm. That's not just an Ontario story, it's Quebec, and it's Atlantic Canada. And really what I say here in the next few seconds for Ontario is almost a repeat, almost like, you know, what is it, wash, rinse, and repeat for you in Atlantic Canada, because it's all going to kind of be the same deal. In that, we're going to see warm air mix in the sort of southeast quadrant of the storm. That's typical. That's under the warm front, where the warm sector is. So a lot of people will start as snow, including you in the GTA, and then you'll switch over to ice pellets potentially, maybe freezing rain. It's not going to be a big freezing rain event, but we could see some freezing rain. And then switching over to rain before the system then moves out of the way, does the same thing for the Atlantic provinces. And then we see that wraparound strong wind, and quote, Doug Gillum, Dr. Doug, said vicious snow squall events on the backside of the system. So Sunday night into Monday, a lot of people are going to be driving back from the cottage to get back to work after the holidays. It is not going to be good out there on the road. So just do keep that in mind. Maybe you might try and get away a little early. Keep it here at the Weather Network. We'll time the event out for you as it gets a little bit closer to us. Still, 3-4 days out. But that's what's going to happen. Fort St. John, 15 to 30 plus centimeters. Grand Prairie, same deal for you. And Edmonton, 10 to 15. So where's this coming from? Well, this is Pacific moisture. This is a warm front that's going to move through central Alberta and really continue to track right into southern Saskatchewan. So we want to Nice to have you along. I'm meteorologist Jaclyn Whittal. Happy New Year. I hope you had a great night last night. If you went out, you were probably bundled up. It was very chilly. How about the snow? Who's been seeing the snow? Let's show you some footage in just a second of North Bay, because you wouldn't believe how snowy it is up there. And, by the way, we're going to be seeing more of that on the way for the long-range forecast. Cornwall, Brockville, our own Chris St. Clair, who's really off on holidays today, did some shooting with his iPhone because it was just horrendous. These squalls today would just set up in one area and dump snow in the lee of the lake and just not move for about 3 hours. One band did not move. So really treacherous driving conditions for today. Get used to it, because into next week, first of all, we have a storm this weekend, but into next week, that lake effect machine is going to get going again. All right, so there's our next moisture source for our next storm. We're going to see an Alberta Clipper develop. We're going to see both of those merge together. Lake effect again, as I mentioned. East Coast, here's what we have going on. A bit of a southwest flow around this upper level low up to the north. High pressure out west. And here's the radar. Yeah, we see these bands shifting a little bit further south. Earlier, Parry Sound. I know you were getting snowed on pretty aggressively. Now down toward the south. So it looks like areas like Orillia, Penetanguishene, Midland, and those winds are going to shift to the northwest. So Tobermory, you're going to be getting hit with it now, but you're also going to be getting hit with it when the winds do that. So it's going to be bad out there. Owen Sound, Wyerton, those areas. Heads up. This is how much snow you still could get by Saturday morning. So most of this will fall overnight into tomorrow, but even into Saturday, this could continue. 10 to 20 centimeters, 5 to 10 centimeters for the lighter blue color. So that means Newberry around Lake Simcoe. And then all the way down into the south, so Orangeville, places like the Grey Highlands. So how do we get lake effect snow for anybody that doesn't live in the Great Lakes? Well, you need instability. That means warmer air rising into colder air. And then you need distance or fetch across the lake so that those squalls can set up and move that snow onto the land. You don't want a difference in your wind direction or speed, for that matter. You just want everything lined up. And here's a look at our 850 millibar temperature. So what this means is this is about 1.5 kilometers, so about 1,500 meters above the surface. We need a certain temperature to make sure that we can get lake effect. And it's a 13-degree difference between the lake temperature and at 850. So our temperatures through Friday will be at about minus 14 to minus 22. So even if it was minus 14, if our lakes are plus 4, that's an 18-degree difference. So more than sufficient kind of setup for lake effect snow. Why can we continue to get lake effect snow? Well, as long as the lake is open and not frozen over, we can get it. Well, 17.4% was what we saw as far as ice coverage last year. This year, not even frozen, 0%. Same deal for you down through the Erie shoreline. Last year, it was about 10% frozen over. This year, nothing. All right, St. Lawrence Seaway. Yeah, around I guess the northern part of New Brunswick, we are looking at snow squall warnings, snow squall watch on the western side of Newfoundland. This is the look at the latest radar. A lot of the heaviest bands of snow are over the St. Lawrence, so not making their way on land at this point. 10 to 15 centimeters of snow on the western shores of Newfoundland, and then less than 5 centimeters for St. John's. All right, Happy New Year to you in Alberta. Look at this beautiful sunset. But isn't that beautiful either way? So here's the thing. Cloud cover building in. Edmonton, you're seeing some snow on the radar, but everyone's seeing that cloud cover moving in. And look at this. Do you see the gap? This is what we call kind of a drier sector, or an area where there's not much moisture. And that's going to be the case. We're going to see this snow, along with the snowfall warnings and watches, set up in sort of a band like this. So through central Alberta and through northeastern BC. Even Regina could be picking up 10 to 20 centimeters over the next few days. We'll be back with much more as Storm Watch coverage continues here on the Weather Network. Just getting hit hard by the same band of snow on radar, which now you can see sort of reforming in upstate New York. But this snow here was actually positioned up there earlier, and it was in line with the 401. How lovely, right? It could have been in a different orientation, but it was actually in line with the 401. Now, up north right now, we are starting to see these storms actually weaken out. Do you see how as they slide south, they've become a little less organized? That's good news. However, it's not all done yet. We still have quite a bit of snow in the forecast. I'll show you the amounts in just a second. But snow squall warnings in the blue, Parry Sound, Barrie, Midland, Penetang, all those areas up through Tobermory and Meaford and Collingwood, those areas. Snow squall watch all the way down into, say, Orangeville and Newmarket. Here's how much, 10 to 20 centimeters for you, Parry Sound. I just saw a picture from a friend of mine that lives up in Lake of Bays. Woo, lots of snow up there. And Dana Batiste, one of our meteorologists, is up at the cottage in McKellar, Ontario, near Parry Sound. It is a winter wonderland up there. Barrie, 5 to 10 centimeters of snow for you, and obviously a lot less down over to the south. So notice the size of these arrows. They're big. That means the winds are fast. And then they're going to shift around northwesterly, and then they get small. Well, by Friday afternoon, we see our winds really taper off, so we'll stop the lake effect machine for a little while anyway, until early next week. Minus 28. Yeah, that's a minus 28 in Sudbury, minus 13 in Collingwood. I bet the news celebrations in Collingwood were a lot of fun, but let's show you this. Absolutely adorable. Yeah, so the lakes, of course, are going to be freezing up because of this cold spell that we've seen this past week and then also into next week. However, do keep in mind that it's always a risk to be going out on the water like that, especially if it's not completely frozen over. Minus 28 for Sudbury, minus 12 in Niagara Falls. Here's a look at how our winds play out on the east coast. So this is the same cold front that just worked its way through Ontario. We are going to see some winds at around 40 to 60 sustained through Nova Scotia Thursday into Friday. That's today into tomorrow, excuse me. And then the temperatures will drop off already in the minus 11s, minus teens, but they'll even get colder, especially as we get into next week. So 10 to 15 centimeters, that's still sea effect snow. West of our prairies, yeah. You're going to be seeing minus 30s, possibly before wind chill. So minus 40s is almost a guarantee in some areas. In addition to that, Regina, you'll pick up some snow, about 15 to 30 centimeters. That'll be through Saturday morning. And same for you in Edmonton, you're going to see about 10 to 15. And then Grand Prairie, 15 to 30 for you up through Fort St. John, same kind of deal. So this is a big push of moisture on the west coast from the Aleutian Islands. So just a storm, a low pressure system. With it, a lot of moisture, and it's cold enough to snow. That's how it works. So here we go. Regina, Brandon, anywhere from about 10 to 30 centimeters. But Regina proper, yeah, you're going to see a winter wonderland before your eyes by Saturday morning. All right, we'll be back with lots more, including storm watch coverage and the track of this next low through Ontario.